Good evening, everyone. I'm Curt Dietrich, Superintendent of Schools in the North Penn School District. It's my pleasure to welcome you here this evening to this community forum on safe schools. And I'm pleased to see the response and so many people here this evening to listen and to learn and to give input on the important topic of keeping our schools, our students, and our staff safe. Tonight you will learn about the strides that the North Penn School District has made through the years toward that end. And I hope to hear of any concerns, any questions, and perhaps any suggestions you may have regarding school security. As everyone in this room knows, the only way to keep our students and our staff safe is to work together with that goal in mind. And speaking of working together, it's my pleasure to introduce tonight's panelists from law enforcement and behavioral health agencies who are here to help answer your questions. And I thank each of them for giving their time to be with us this evening. With us this evening, we have Ray Wilson, the North Penn School District Safe Schools Coordinator, Chief David Duffy from the Upper Gwynedd Police Department and the North Penn Tactical Team, Lieutenant Jerry Doherty from the Montgomery Township Police Department, Steve Beck, Coordinator of School Safety for Montgomery County Department of Public Safety, Lieutenant Jeffrey Kratz from Toamenson Township's Police Department, Charlene Artillo, the Student Assistance Program Director from Northwestern Human Services Agency, and Pete DeMeester, Regional Director of Family-Based Services of Northwestern Human Services Agency. Also with us this evening are members of our School Board Safe Schools Committee, Frank O'Donnell, Susan Leonard, and Carolyn Murphy. And they're also available to answer any questions you may have. And please know that the next meeting of the Safe Schools Committee will be on January 31st at 6 o'clock p.m. in the school district's office building on Hancock Street. And you're welcome to attend that meeting as well. We're also pleased to have with us this evening our school board president, Vince Sierpinski. The format tonight is as follows. Ray Wilson will give an overview of the North Penn School District's security measures that we have in place. He'll also ask any of the panelists to comment as needed, and then we're going to open the floor for your questions and any kind of comments you may have. So simply raise your hand and I'll be around with a microphone so that everyone in the auditorium can hear your question and everyone watching on North Penn television can hear your question. Either I'll answer the question or I'll direct the question to one of the panelists. Now, please note that there may be some questions where we'll only be able to give a general kind of an answer because we don't want to jeopardize any of our schools' safety measures. Tonight's forum is also being broadcast on North Penn Television, and we do have viewers who will be able to send us emails with questions they may have. So I will be turning to see if we have some emails coming in from our viewers at home. And I'll do my best to get to those questions as well. During the weeks since the tragedy at Sandy Hook Elementary School, I've received many emails from concerned parents and students, grandparents, and community leaders. And it's comforting to know that the North Penn School District does not stand alone in this important mission of keeping our schools safe. Please know that ensuring our schools are safe is a constant driving force for educators. And the recent events have only heightened our awareness as we continue to earnestly pursue the priority of having safe schools. And now I present to you Ray Wilson, our District Safe Schools Coordinator, for an overview. Ray?
Thank you, Dr. Dietrich. Please bear with me. I'm like the million of Americans that have that upper chest infection and cough, so I hope I make it tonight, but I think I'll be all right. Thanks for coming. I think this is very important. And just a little bit about myself. Before I came to the school district, I was a Hatfield police officer for 31 years. And in those 31 years, 20 years of that career were dedicated to the North Penn Tactical Response Team. And we have Chief Duffy here tonight that's representing the North Penn Tactical Response Team and a couple other officers in the audience also. So I kind of feel like I was on the other side of things before I came to the school district. In my last 5 years, I was assistant commander of the team, and it was just after Columbine, and we were doing a lot of training of police officers how to respond to incidents and things like that. So I feel pretty proud of that, I think we have 6 great police departments that cover the district here, and I work very well with them. They're all 6 police departments are here tonight in some capacity. And now I'm on the other side. Now my job is to try to protect our staff and students here in the district, and I'm very proud of what we've been doing here. We can do more. You can always do more, and we are going to be doing some more things, which I'll explain a little bit later. But I just want to briefly explain to you some things that we've been doing here in the last few years. When I became Safe Schools Coordinator in 2009, one of the first things that I had said to the school board was that we weren't really doing emergency drills in elementary schools. That was one of my first priorities, and I'm proud to say that we are doing emergency drills in all our 18 schools, and the drills have been working out really well. I can't go into specifics of how we do our drills and what we do, but they're based on national protocol. And like I said, even from kindergartners all the way to 12th grade, we do these drills, and you've seen in some of these incidents in schools where these drills have saved a lot of lives. And we've been doing them, and we're going to be doing them more often, sometime in the future. So our security, we have a good security force here in our secondary schools, and all our security are mostly retired police officers. And they're good because they know what to do in certain situations. They know how to react to things, and they are all trained in NIMS. NIMS is called the National Incident Management System. This is a course that there's various levels that you can take, and this is how to respond to critical incidents, how to set up incident command systems and things like that. The tactical teams, fire companies, and EMS all use this NIMS system, and all our security officers are trained in this system. We use a CLASS system. The CLASS is an acronym for County Law Enforcement Assistance Program, where we have direct communications with the county radio room dispatchers. That's something that's in most of our schools in the whole county. Every school has this CLASS system, and we can communicate with the county in an emergency situation. During my career here too, I found out during the first couple years here that when we did some drills and things here, that a lot of our different staff were not trained in proper procedures. So I instituted a training system for all district personnel, including aides, cafeteria workers, substitutes, and support staffs. When we first started doing some of the drills back in the elementary schools years ago, we had some district workers, per se, that were working in the hallways and things like that, and they really weren't aware of what they were supposed to be doing. So that's when I instituted a program to train our workers in the district. And I've been doing follow-up training for a lot of the personnel. I've done vulnerability assessments at all our schools, and I will be doing more assessments. And again, not being able to go into specifics, but I go around to a school and do an assessment and find out, where we might be lacking some things, where we need to improve on some things. It's a long, tedious process, and the folder's about this thick, but it's a good reference for our schools, and like I said, so we know where we can improve on some things, and where we're lacking on some things if possible. We have a system here called Raptor. I believe most of you know the Raptor system. We've had it in our secondary schools for about 3 years now, and this year was the first year that we have Raptor system in our elementary schools. I think the Raptor system is probably one of the best things that we have here at the school district. We are still working on some things of how we're going to set Raptor up, and we're still kind of experimenting with some things in the elementary schools. But basically, it checks for registered sex offenders in all 50 states. And also, the best part of it is that you have to produce your driver's license, and then you get a visitor's badge when you come in to our schools. So anytime that you go through our inner doors there and have any interaction with students in our school district, you have to produce your license, and you get a visitor's pass for Raptor. So that's, I think, I was very glad to see that the school board decided to go with all schools this past year, and it's been working out very well. I've trained all our staff and secretaries in the use of the Raptor. Another nice thing that we got just this past year was all new radio system for our whole school district. Every bus, every security officer, a lot of administration personnel, and every school will have an emergency radio. These are new state-of-the-art digital radios, and some of them even have capabilities of talking to the police departments on one of their secondary channels. I'm still working out a procedure and policy for that. But it just gives us great interoperability with all the schools. We will have a district emergency channel. This will come in handy for any district-wide emergency we might have, maybe more of a weather-related emergency and things like that, or any type of emergency where they can go on a certain channel and have talk capabilities with every school in the district. It has worked out great with school buses. If they have a problem, they can immediately radio their dispatch area and get fast response from the police department with these new radios. And like I said, they're new digital state-of-the-art radios. We do have camera surveillance in our district here, and we are going to be looking at hopefully upgrading some of our camera systems. But we have good systems, and they have been working out very well. In the high school here was probably where we had the biggest amount of cameras, and we use them every single day, and they have really come in handy for some criminal cases that we have had here. I'm on various committees. We have a lot of committees that work here regarding safe schools. I'm probably on about 3 or 4 different committees that works with safe schools, and a lot of the guys on this panel and some in the audience are on one of my Safe Schools committee that has a lot of outside people too. We have magistrates, county people, police officers, judges, and we meet once a month and we discuss various safety incidents. And we do come up with a lot of great things for the school district. So it's a very good. Very good committee, and like I said, I'm on about 3 or 4 different committees that we're constantly trying to make things safer here for our students and staff at North Penn. Okay, post-Connecticut, I will call it. We did form a committee specifically to look at safety measures after the tragic incident in Connecticut. I know I have some young grandkids that are going to be going into kindergarten next year, and it really hit me very hard, thinking about the situation in Connecticut, and I know that's why you're all here. And I really am, one to say that we want to keep your kids safe here. We certainly can do more, and we are going to do more, and we are going to try our best to keep your kids safe. I have in all the trainings that I do for our teachers and staff here, I always tell them that I'm very proud of North Penn, and I know there's other school districts that are good with training and things like that. But I have the utmost respect for our teachers here, and I've always told them in my trainings that I really truly believe that if we have an incident here in the North Penn School District, that our teachers and staff will do the right thing to protect your teachers. I'm really very, very confident about that. One of the things that we did post-Connecticut was pretty much lock down our schools and our elementary schools in the morning hours and the afternoon hours where we have the after-school programs. They were pretty much wide open where the parents came in and out. So we have come up with some new procedures where we have locked down the doors, and we installed new buzzer and camera systems at some of the schools, and we hope to install some more security features, in the next few months. I also received a grant for more radios. We're going to get more radios into. We had an assessment done at Penndale a couple years that Steve Beck from the county was involved in, and out of that assessment, we actually got a grant, and we will get some more radios with that. I think the radios are very important. I think we're going to try to outfit, besides the security, we're going to try to outfit a lot of our administrators in the district with radios, and I think that's one thing that can save save valuable time in a critical incident. I will also be going around and doing further assessments of our schools. I have done all the schools just in the past year, but I'm going to go around and do some further assessments now with some of the new things that came out of Connecticut, and I will do a report to the school board on that assessment. As I had said before, I'm the liaison with the 6 police departments, and I have to say another thing that I was pretty proud of is probably not even, I think it was the day of, I received my first phone call from Chief Duffy sitting right next to me, and he promised that he would have more police officers in our schools and patrolling our parking lots and being in the hallways. And it seemed like pretty much in the next couple of days, I received phone calls from almost every chief in the district, and promising that they would try to do their part too in having some more police presence at our schools. And obviously I think that's one of the most important things. They have a lot of other duties they're doing, but I've already noticed definitely a big improvement in police presence both inside the schools and outside the schools. So I appreciate that. I've had a great working relation with the chiefs. I plan to have a meeting within the next month or so with all 6 chiefs and discuss some security things for our school district. I'm hopefully going to work with Steve Beck too, again from the county, and do some kind of a tabletop exercise in the spring. It's a big thing to set up, but I'm sure with Steve's help, he's gonna help me out with that. But that's a tabletop exercises where you get all the players together, admin staff from the school, police, fire, EMS, the SWAT teams and everything, and that's where you go over and you just do an exercise on, in a room, simulating, anything. It can be, it can be an intruder thing or a weather thing, and then you go over and make phone calls and go through the whole process that you would go through in a critical incident. These can be very valuable. I've been involved in a couple of them as an observer in a couple of the other school districts, and they're very, very valuable. You learn a lot of valuable lessons doing a tabletop exercise. This has been a continuing thing, but I've been updating our county and school district emergency plans. I've already updated a few of our emergency procedures, and I update our county emergency procedure every year, and I submit it to Steve Beck, and they keep a copy of that. So I am always working on updating our emergency drills and procedures and trying to be on the cutting edge, as they say. One thing I'd like to try to do this year too is institute a NIMS training program for all our administrators. I believe the federal government has mandated that this will occur probably in the very near future. So it's not you can do it online. The first 2 courses I believe you can take online now. So it's something that's not very difficult to do. So, but it gives the administrators an idea of how to set up an incident command system and what to do during a critical incidents. The first couple courses are very good. So I'm hoping to set up this NIMS training in the future. That's pretty much an overview. I did want to besides the panel up here, I wanted to Deputy Chief Bill Tierney from Hatfield is over here. And I was a Hatfield police officer, and Officer Steve Cameron and Officer Pat Hanrahan are here from Hatfield, so I appreciate you guys coming. I've always had a great working relationship with Hatfield, obviously, because I worked there, but thanks for coming out, guys. I appreciate it. I appreciate all your help and all the police departments that come to our schools. Jim Reap is here, I see, from Montgomery Township. Jim helps me. He's on our Safe Schools Committee. He helps me with internet presentations that I do in the elementary schools. But again, thank you for your time, and I'm sure you'll have some questions. And I hope this is just part of my file here of emails and things that I've received. And I will read every single one of these, and we will come up with some kind of a comprehensive plan to make our schools a little bit safer. I think we have a safe school district here, but I think we can do a few more things, and we will do a few more things to make our kids safe. So, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Wilson. Also, I do want to introduce Mr. Joe Sullivan from our school board. He's also here with us this evening. And there may be some other board members also out there in the audience. We've had tremendous board support, and due to their forward thinking, we have the position here that Ray has been in now for a number of years. Okay, what we're going to do now is I will take questions, and I will move around and bring the microphone to you. I do ask that you wait until I get there with the microphone. I do want you to project across through the microphone to everybody in the room and also to those that are watching on television. So why don't we open it up now for questions? First question. We'll go right over here.
Hi, my name is Leanna Goodrich. My little boy is in one of the elementary schools in kindergarten, and I actually teach in a neighboring district, and I was wondering, I applaud everything that you all have said, and actually my little boy tonight was talking about their first intruder drill. I was impressed you knew what that was. My question is for substitute teachers who come in, maybe new to the district. How are they trained on what the emergency response is? Do they have keys to the classrooms for lockdown purposes? And what kind of preparation do they get in anticipation of something that perhaps they couldn't anticipate happening?
Okay, Ray, you want to take that one?
I have been doing training with the substitutes for a while now, and I do a block of training during their orientation. And actually, I just had a meeting just last week with HR, and I'm gonna do some more training with that. We have had some issues with keys. I met about a month ago with our district locksmith, and him and I came up with some guidelines to make sure that we have all the subs, have keys. I know I will admit that has been an issue, and I know from going to county meetings and things like that the key situation is an issue in all districts, not just ours, but we are working on that. We did put a guideline and policy out for that. I'm working with HR to get the substitutes a little better trained, so we're working on that.
Okay, thank you, Ray. Next question, right here.
When I was watching the coverage of the Newtown situation and thinking about I have a 7-year-old that goes to Culp, and before this whole situation even happened, I was pleased to see that I got an email that they had changed some policy about locking down the school during regular hours, and you had to sign in. And I've been to his school a couple of times. Once because he missed a bus and I had to drive him, the other time for a teacher conference meeting. And they have glass doors. This maniac went into the Newtown. It was locked down. He shot his way through the glass. And hearing about how the principal, all she could do was try and stop him with her bare hands. There was nobody there that could effectively disrupt this maniac. And he killed those babies. So my question is, has there been any thought, I'm sure there has been some thought, but what are the channels and possibilities to get somebody in the schools? So I personally would be willing to pay extra in taxes or whatever if I knew that there was somebody in there, preferably plain clothes with a concealed weapon, so that they don't have a target painted on their head for whoever wants to come in that has a concealed weapon and will just pull it out and shoot the first person they see that's armed. Somebody that is trained and can disrupt or stop an attacker. Thanks.
I definitely can agree with you, sir. And it is definitely something that we're going to look at. It's there's two sides of the issue on that too. That we are, we are a public school here, and it's just, it's a tough situation, but we have already talked about that. We are going to look into that, and, like I said, one of my things is I'm glad that we have the police officers in our schools more often. I wish we could have 24/7, but I don't know if that's going to be possible, but I totally agree with you. Like I said, I have, grandkids that are going to be going to school next year, and I definitely see that, is possibly something that may come at some point. We are looking into you, and I know in some of my emails here that was one of the major things that people were saying about, why don't we have somebody armed in our schools? But all I can say is that we are going to look into that. I totally agree with you.
Thank you, Mr. Wilson. That one will be a big matter of public debate across the whole country, I can guarantee it. That'll be a lot of debate going on across our whole country, whether or not we should have armed people in our schools, and the upsides and, of course, the downsides to that. So, okay, right here.
Thank you. Just to follow up to that gentleman's comment, which I thought was very emotional and well put. You had mentioned, Mr. Wilson, that there were retired security people in the secondary schools.
Mm-hmm.
They're retired police officers.
Mm-hmm.
Are they unarmed officers? Or they're just there?
Did you say unarmed?
Yeah,
Yes.
they are. So that's really the difference.
There's a lot of a lot of things that you have to go through, a lot of different training, because if you're out of police work, for so many months, years, there's a lot of training that you have to go through. I mean, even though they're retired police officers, you just can't strap on a gun. So,
Yeah.
they do have experience with firearms, but they would have to be retrained and reassessed and all that kind of stuff. It's just not as easy as just.
But there is a presence
yes.
in each school.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
Next question. Okay, we'll go over here. Can I just scoot by you here? Thanks.
I have a quick question. I know at our school we have a camera system and a buzzing in system in order to come in. Unfortunately, in the early mornings and around the end of the school day, that system is constantly going off. And I don't know how much the secretaries are actually looking or capable of really looking to see who they're letting in. And once they're in, we line up and we wait to pick up our kids. How is there any protection from somebody coming in at those times? And is there any way for the secretaries to lock down the office area so that if somebody does come in that is somewhat suspicious, they can contain them in a given area rather than having them free reign of the school?
Okay, any comment on the challenge in front of our secretaries as they buzz people in when there are a lot of people coming to pick up their kids at the end of the day?
Yeah, it is a challenge. That's we're trying to look into some physical things for the schools of having instead of coming in being able to go into the whole school, having some kind of another physical barricade after you come in the door. We also are looking at coming up with a district protocol on how people are greeted, on these buzzer systems. What to say to these people, and what their purpose is here. And I will admit there have been some times where maybe it's busy and they're just buzzing people in, but I really do believe that especially since the Connecticut issue, we have really buckled down on that, and the secretaries are asking what their purpose is, what their name is, and the physical part of it, the locking down and stuff, that's just another thing that we're gonna have to, after we do our assessments of every school, we're gonna have to, evaluate that. I believe most of the office areas are able to be locked too, so I think we're okay on that one.
Thank you, Ray. Next question. As I'm moving over here to this individual, just let me say we are taking notes this evening, and of course it is recorded. So there may be some things where you may make a suggestion that we'll have to look into. We may not be able to answer the question immediately, but please know that we are taking notes as we're speaking this evening.
Hi, I just moved here from New Jersey in September, so this is all kind of new to me. My daughter just started first grade at her very first public school. What are your measures going to be in regards to talking to the children? Like, I know I have talked to my daughter. I don't know how everybody else handled the situation, but is there going to be like procedures in place where the children are directly going to be like taught possibly like what to do if something like this does happen?
Okay, in regard to speaking with children, we do have the intruder drills, and all of the students, no matter if they're in kindergarten or any of the grades thereafter, do participate in those training drills and everything like that. We did make the decision when the horrible thing happened in Connecticut to send a school messenger to everyone indicating that we were not going to be the ones to initially break the news to the kids. We would have that be an individual decision by the parents. We had some parents who wrote back and said, thank you, I'm choosing not to really get into detail about it, and I really would hope you don't get into a lot of detail about that horrific particular there in Connecticut. However, I still think they support us doing the necessary training and everything like that. But maybe one of our mental health people would like to answer regarding how do you talk to kids, and what do you say, what don't you say, and how do you help them?
Yes, that's actually an excellent question. I think the cliche is usually we have to talk to our kids. I would highly encourage that we do more listening, and I know under times of stress, obviously that's going to be really hard, depending on the age of your child as well. I think the anxiety that comes out after tragedies like what happened in Connecticut, we're kind of dealing with two different types of anxiety. It's one where, first one being where the anxiety was already there and now they're more symptomatic because of the tragedy. In those situations, I would definitely recommend, again, it's talk to your kids, but also do a lot of listening, do what works. Again, if the anxiety was already there before, hopefully you've already found some little interventions that would work. I think we're all more concerned about the second type of anxiety, which is more of the trauma that there was an anxiety there beforehand, but now there is. That could just be from being slightly traumatized all the way to, a more severe post-traumatic stress disorder. I think in those situations, again, you want to set up times to talk. I think you have to find the balance between, you don't want to be in complete denial that it did not happen, but find the balance between not overstating it to a child. I mean, to be honest with you, the rule of thumb is adults do deal with trauma better, not when it has something to do with your child being affected. So I think when we're on those kind of grounds, we have to look at the fact that most of the time, kids are resilient. They can deal with things. Probably a little bit meaner way of saying it is they're also more self-centered, which in these situations, it's actually a good thing. So what we really want to be careful of in these situations is to not talk about the situation so much to where we're actually putting our stress onto that child. I mean, again, we're hearing the emotion in the room. I cannot think, I'm a parent myself. I mean, I cannot think of one parent that, didn't stop immediately and think, what if this happened to my child? So I think it's very fair to say that we are all stressed out. Finding the balance between talking to your child but not putting too much of that stress that we feel onto the child is greatly important. So my final thought on that would be, if you are feeling very stressed out, if you are feeling very, maybe even traumatized, please reach out to your support system, whether it be, husband, wife, girlfriend, boyfriend, neighbor, somebody, for you to be able to deal with the tragedy first before you even want to enter into that conversation with a child. I mean, I think that's detrimental. I mean, the staff that I train, we're very big on, if you're not ready to talk, probably not the best time to try to deal with a client in that nature. So as parents, I would definitely recommend, if you need to reach out to your support system, if you need help in finding a support system, whether it be professional or just community, I would highly recommend doing that. And overall, if you feel like you're too concerned or you're really concerned that your child is dealing with a significant level of anxiety, please definitely reach out. Schools are a great first place to go. Just even asking any guidance counselor, teacher, are there any resources available? We do have, mental health does have resources available in schools. Our student assistance program is one of them. So if the situation is, if the anxiety is higher, that might be out of your control or just out of the scope of helping the child, I would definitely recommend, seeking out some kind of support. Again, it could just be community-based. I don't want to, really get into the stigma of mental health or anything, but there are resources out there if you do need them.
And we also have with us this evening, Charlene, you have some materials, I think, also for people. So if you want to quickly just summarize for everyone
Absolutely.
what they might find when they leave.
Okay, there's some materials in the back in regards to the student assistance program, but basically there's two different facets to our program. We are contracted by the district and we serve as mental health liaisons here. So what you're going to see is in the middle schools and high schools, we have counselors that are mental health trained, with our primary role being, again, as that consultant, and also we'll run psychoeducational groups, meet with children on an individual basis, not to provide therapy, but just to really kind of teach them the support skills and the coping skills. And that's one component. The other component is we do offer assessments. So a child could be referred. We specifically screen for depression, suicide, drug, alcohol, and anger risk levels. And then based on that information, we'll make recommendations and help families connect with community and mental health resources. So like I said, that information is in the back, and you can also talk to your guidance counselors about that as well.
The mental health aspect here is huge, and we thought it was very important that we had some representatives from the mental health field here this evening. I do want to encourage you, if you have any concerns about your own kids, or if you've noticed something about friends of your kids, that you just think, somebody should really be checking into this, please contact the school, ask us to take a look at it. We can keep it confidential, but we just want to make sure we have those mental detectors out there, people that are keeping close tabs on individuals, their children, or other adults in the community that we ought to make sure we're reaching out to if there's a need there. Okay, next question. We'll come right over here.
Good evening. More of a comment around the incident, the intruder drills as well as other safety drills. In discussing this with my elementary school age children, I asked them to describe to me what kind of drills you do. So they mentioned the intruder drills as well as their fire drills. And following parallels to what happened in Connecticut, I would like to see more options out there for the children and the teachers to address those situations. Whether it's a fire drill, I know they line up, go out the hallway and out a certain door. Well, what happens when that fire is outside their doorway? As well as the situation in Connecticut. Have more options for them to, rather than just hide. There's knowing when they should flee, knowing the layouts of the building. I know where my children are. They have connecting doors to other rooms. Those other rooms have connecting doors to the outside. With that said, then there needs to be greater threat assessment from the teachers as well as the administrators to know when to tell them to do this certain. But I just want to see more options around those individual threats.
I appreciate that comment.
Thank you.
And I've been working on that. Like I said, I'm pretty proud of the way we do our intruder drills. Chief was just reminding me that I have the police assist on almost all our intruder drills that we do, and it's very nice to see them involved in it. But they do assist us, and the principals have been fantastic. The drills that we do, we try to make them more safety conscious on these things, and we do different scenarios and different times, and so we're always trying to change things up, but obviously the number one thing is the safety of our kids. And like I said, I've been doing these for many years, and I think the teachers are doing the right thing, and they're protecting our kids, and it's obviously worked in a lot of these incidents across the United States where these drills have saved many lives.
Mr. Beck or any of the police officers, any thoughts on that hide versus flee? You know, there's the question, you know, when is it appropriate to flee, or is it ever appropriate to flee, or is it always most appropriate to hide and be out of the sight lines of an intruder? Any thoughts on that at all?
Yeah, actually, the way I could step back to Columbine, I guess. Right after Columbine took place, the first process that came out of that, besides the law enforcement world changing their tactics and how they approach these particular situations, the schools were at that point just looking at lockdown one-dimensional. And actually what we're doing now, not only in North Penn area schools, but across Montgomery County, across Pennsylvania, and across the United States, we're looking at lockdown as just one aspect of an approach to a active shooter or an intruder within our building. It really has become a multi-pronged approach now, and we're trying to spread this word now across Montgomery County and get all of our schools, public as well as non-public, to start to think of this as a multi-dimensional aspect, that there are times when incidents take place in schools when there is that, what we call that hot zone, that immediate danger area in there. And that's when lockdown perhaps would work best at that particular moment, when you're confining yourself, compartmentalizing yourself to a specific area because you don't have any other choice. The other part is if you're in another portion of the building, perhaps evacuation or further evading, moving yourself farther away from that danger area would be best. And what we're trying to do is take these concepts and now place them out into our schools and into the minds of our teachers and our staff, to allow them to understand that during the course of crisis thinking, that there is more than one step perhaps to be made. And when you make that first step, you should already start to be thinking about your second step. What happens next? And this is something that we need to get our staff and our teachers on board with. And then we can start to develop or plant these seeds with our students, the fact that they can understand that perhaps they may receive additional instruction to take some next level of safety and security measure to help themselves during these very high stressful, high risk situations. So across Montgomery County, this is a way that we're starting to take our next steps to bring the response to the active shooter, as well as to whether it's a fire drill or a weather drill. Knowing that you need to take additional steps because we're not always handed the same set of circumstances each time. And this is important. And this comes along with that, as I mentioned, that crisis thinking. And sometimes that's a little hard for us to grasp and have that mindset to realize that, gee, I did one thing first, but shouldn't that be it? Well, we've seen time and time again in a lot of cases throughout the United States that just one step is not enough. And we need to start really bearing down and bringing this to the forefront of what the next steps will be.
Thank you, Steve. Chief, it looked like you were reaching for the microphone there right before Steve started. Was there something you want to add?
To follow up on what Steve said, and we've had discussions before the Connecticut situation with our principals and our schools about changing things up, and the lockdown is sort of the basic go-to for the drills. However, included in the drills are times when the students are in the hallways. We don't just wait till they're all in their classrooms to conduct the drill. We do it when they're in the hallways. We do it when there's other things going on, so we can have some of that crisis thinking he was referring to employed by the teachers to come up with a safe alternative to the situation depending how it's unfolding. Another aspect is there's many times that they're outside for recess, and there's a discussion about how they should handle that depending on the situation. Certainly things like what are done in a fire drill where everyone's lined up in a row is not going to be ideal for an active shooter or possible shooter situation. So we're changing that up and understanding that immediate getting away from the threat as quickly as possible is going to have to override some of our conventional thinking in working with the schools and on these drills.
Thank you. Chris, do we have questions from people who are watching at home?
We do. We've had a couple comments come in via email. This one's from Frank. He says, Ray's glad to hear about the increased police presence that's been visible at our schools. He also says he's witnessed it personally. But he asks, if you could comment, and possibly some of the law enforcement officers on the panel could comment as well, as to how that might be sustained over time and not sort of fade away.
Okay, sure, go ahead.
The law enforcement response to any type of critical incident like this always heightens our remembrance of our responsibilities to the students and the community. We do, as a matter of routine, make it part of our normal daily practice when time permits to have the officers make appearances on the school grounds, in the school campus area, and particularly in the high school and even in the elementary schools, at least in our jurisdiction, to make a walkthrough inside when time allows. We also participate in the intruder drills. As Mr. Wilson said, he invites us to them. I think that's a great opportunity for us to learn a little bit and to work with the school district and the faculty at each individual facility to make sure that things are going smoothly, that they're focusing on what's critical in situations like that, particularly for the safety of the kids involved, to that we're all on the same page and we all know what our responsibilities are, from the teachers and the faculty to the administrative staff to the law enforcement officers as they come into the scene. So for our purposes, we, as a matter of routine, have this always in our mind. Until mentioned, we spend a considerable amount of time working with the school district, particularly the high school, the vocational school. So we're very familiar with being at the school, in the school, and around the school. And obviously, anytime you have a tragedy like this, it brings the community and the law enforcement community together in a combined effort to make our schools and keep our kids more safe. Again, we are mostly all parents up here. We feel the same emotions as you folks do in regards to the kids and their safety. So we have a stake in this personally as well as professionally, and we're there to provide as much comfort to the community as well as the school district that we are in this game with you, and we are here to do everything we can to keep the kids safe.
Lieutenant Doherty?
I can echo what Lieutenant Kratz has said, and listening to comments from the school district, from the parents, and I know my own experience with Montgomery Township. As far as what we're doing is we are continuing the DARE program in our elementary schools in Montgomery Township. One of the things that does, in addition to the education, is it opens up a line of communication between whoever the DARE instructor is and the officer. That type of connection carries long past their elementary days, where they'll contact the officers or the DARE instructors as time goes on, and we get all kinds of tips and information as that happens. Well, one of the other things I'm seeing is everyone in every little specialty here, including the parents, are all looking at these scenarios that have occurred, and we're all analyzing it from a what-if standpoint and what could we do better standpoint. So we're all rethinking these things and looking at it and saying, what could we do, what can't we do, what parameters do we have to confine ourselves to, and where could we expand to make the situation better? What could we do more as law enforcement officers? For us, we have better knowledge of the schools. We have the maps, in our vehicles. We talk to the teachers. We go through the schools, increased patrols in the area. So we're rethinking this, and all these ideas that are coming in, we're all analyzing them and trying to make it the best type of scenario that we can to make it as safe as we can.
Thank you. Next question. We'll go over here.
Good evening. Unfortunately, because of the type of world that we live in today, we are vulnerable to these types of things no matter what it is we do, proactive, reactive, et cetera. I'm a little disappointed that in a school district of 13,000 students, there aren't more parents here tonight to hear what's going on and what the school district is doing. I think I'm pretty well informed, but I'm here because I can't find all this information on the school district website. So I appreciate hearing tonight everything that this district is doing to protect our children in our schools. My question is really two-part. One, our teachers do, I think, an incredible job of not only teaching our students, but protecting them. And I'd like to know if we're actually reaching out to our faculty, our staff at all of our schools, where do they think our weaknesses are, and what do they suggest we do, or what is their insight in terms of how can we make our schools safer? And B, a lot of what I'm hearing is reactively. If this happened in our school, this is what we're going to do. But what are we doing to teach our kids? Maybe it's a little bit more difficult at the elementary school and things are identified more by a teacher. But when you get to the secondary schools, your middle schools, your high school, what are we teaching our kids and how are we making them comfortable to come forward when they have information? They're talking and we're not hearing anymore by the time they get a little bit older. And they're hearing things that are probably more troublesome that somebody else should know about and point out a situation that maybe is a little bit more concerning to people. Not to make this a witch hunt, because that's certainly not going to help anybody either. But I think we find in most of these situations that it occurs because somebody has a connection to wherever the tragedy has occurred. So whether our community is keeping their ears open and reporting things, but what are we doing to help our children have a safe way, and where are they encouraged to go with that information if they know something?
On the first part of your question regarding the interaction with staff, Ray's the coordinator for that within the district, but each individual department has representatives going through the school, as mentioned here. We all really do it very regularly, and we were doing it before this tragedy, being interactive in the schools. So whenever we go through, I know that I check in with the principals each time I'm going through. My officers do speak with the principals and other staff, so we are interacting with them directly and taking their concerns and issues back to our departments and working with Ray Wilson on it. So that's ongoing. As for the second part, Ray will answer that also, but that rapport that we have by being in the schools more often, we have known, as Lieutenant Doherty mentioned with the DARE program also, that we're building trust level with the students and staff, that they feel that they can talk to us more because they see us all the time and we're not just there for an emergency. We're becoming part of their routine, which is what we want. And that's allowed for a better flow of information. When there are sometimes privacy concerns or other concerns, but when it comes to safety, there's been a stress that communication is vital to occur between law enforcement and the school district, and that has, in my experience, always occurred.
Regarding the kids reporting things and things like that, I think we have a good rapport with our guidance counselors in the district. I've done some training with the guidance counselors, and the kids are taught to go to your teacher, go to your guidance counselors, go to your principal. I think we've had good luck with that. I think the kids know that I do an internet safety program and cyberbullying program for elementary school kids, and I go into a little bit about safety and go to a trusted adult if you have a problem where you need to tell somebody something. So I think we do. I think we have some things in place. One of the committees that a few of us are on, the Act 211 committee, Safe Schools Committee, we actually have students come in and we ask them, how do you think, how can we get information, or what's the best way to speak to the kids? And it's good to have them there. There are the first couple meetings that they came to, they might have been a little intimidated because there can be 10, 12, 15 adults there, but it's been really good. And they gave us some great ideas on, what their feelings are. And I think we're doing, some of the schools that aren't even doing DARE anymore are still having the police come in and do some different trainings. But I think we're trying to, make the kids feel at home and tell them, we're training them and teaching them to see a trusted adult if they have a problem. And I think it's been working.
Thank you, Ray. Next question.
Hi, my daughter goes to Knapp Elementary. She's in 3rd grade. I just wanted to know, Mr. Wilson, is the district looking to move to a key swipe entry for students and employees?
We are looking
for
into
entryway.
that. Yeah. It's a big process, but that's one thing that a lot of the emails that I got asked that same question. So that is one of the things that when I do, the assessments that we do have a lot of schools that do have that, but I'm hoping that in time, we will get some more schools outfitted with a swipe system.
Yeah, we're expanding that. The question she followed up with, is there grant money for the key swipe systems?
I don't think so. I think grants, unfortunately, and I don't know if any grants.
I'm giving the eye to Steve Beck. He's the guy with the grant money.
He got me a couple grants before, but it seems like the grants are kind of running out now. There's not too many grants around. I know there's every once in a while a grant will pop up here and there, but they're sometimes they're very specific on what you can do with them. But yeah.
But we are expanding those key swipe systems so that we have them in all of our buildings. That is the plan here.
Hi, thank you. My son is a first grader at Knapp as well, and we've heard about some of the global changes that are being implemented in response to what happened in Connecticut. I'd like to know specifically, what is the timeline for addressing school-specific improvements, like at Knapp, for example, improving the glass in the classroom doors and making those sorts of changes? What time frame can parents expect?
I can't. I really wish I could give you a timeline, but I can't. There's just there's just so many things that we're looking at, and we have been looking at things, and I wish I just wouldn't want to narrow it down to a specific timeline.
Yeah, we have taken initial steps. For example, the before and after care program. That was one area where we got some emails from individuals. We also had our meetings internally on that. The principals are meeting on that. And then we made some immediate changes there in regard to the before and after care. So that's one of the first things we did. The next thing after that was having Ray going around and again meeting with principals and looking at each building individually to see what about that building should we be addressing. And frankly, we're going to have to triage things. We're going to have to go in some level of order to determine what we can do immediately and then what might be more of a long-term thing. So we're doing that, and we're moving through all of our buildings to take a look at that. Also, as we renovate our buildings, there are some buildings that are more recently renovated. They have a little bit different layout now than it was prior to the renovation. So that's helpful. For example, some of the buildings, you come into an area before you get beyond that door, that you get through the first door, but then you're stopped at a next door. We don't have that in all of our buildings. So as we look at our schools, we're looking at what we might need to do in additional buildings within our school system like that. So we're moving through all of that pretty systematically. Okay, I'll go back here.
I'm still trying to grasp the concept. I mean, it was kind of shocking to hear Mr. Beck make the comment that teachers need to be trained to plan step by step in the event of an incident like this. Maybe naive on my part, but I always thought teachers just went to college to learn to teach our kids. It's really, I mean, I sat there that day when this happened wondering how to tell my kids. They're both young elementary age. My wife and I decided that we weren't going to talk to them about it. My oldest is a little too inquisitive right now. She's at the age where she's starting to pay attention to the news. And I want to thank the district for taking the position that they did in letting it up to the parents to discuss with them. Honestly, my kids take the bus. There wasn't 1 ounce of conversation about the incident. That being said, when I dropped my kids off that Monday morning for the extended school care, the teachers there, the staff that were there, they were so filled with emotion, not really knowing what to do, how to prepare for that. And that's when it hit me that those before and after school programs really were vulnerable in an event like this if it were to happen. So I want to thank you for the very quick reaction to making sure that those areas were looked at. I won't reveal the school. There are, I believe, a couple schools that have the issue where to get into those extended school care areas now, there is a separate door aside from the main entrance of the school. However, the door is solid. So when these before school care staff have to open a door, they're opening the door not knowing who's on the other side of it. So that may be something to look into.
Absolutely. We are looking into that.
Okay. The other thing, and one concern, a couple things that I've heard from other teachers with the whole lockdown issue is that there seems to be a lot of time being spent going to the doors to allow their students in, getting back to their areas that they're there for before the school hours. I agree. It may be time to look into having somebody there specifically to monitor entries into the school. I can appreciate the increased police attendance in the schools. Again, my kids have not noticed anything. But perhaps complementary to the police presence, knowing that they can't be there 100% of the time. But using traffic as an example, we've all seen decoy cars. They make me come to a complete stop. I don't roll through them. Just seeing that car, there's enough of a deterrent for me. Again, that may be too simplified, but if that's possible economically. The final comment that I have came from a parent in one of my kids' extracurricular activities. They have a 12-year-old who made a comment about the intruder drills. I don't know that much about them. I don't know exactly the details that the student was referring to, but she said if you could ask them to step it up. They need to know what to do next. That was her comment.
Okay, thank you. I saw a question here.
Thank you. I'm a Hatfield resident, and my children actually attend Mater Dei, the Archdiocese school. I was wondering, and Mr. Beck could probably answer this question for me, are they part of your call network? If something happens in North Penn School District and you go under a lockdown, are the Archdiocese schools and the private schools within North Penn area also going to be notified? And is it also a viable chance that we could get the Lansdale police to just come in on a random basis for a park and walk type situation?
Steve, you mentioned earlier when we were having some discussion, you've been contacted by some of the non-publics now, so sounds like you're involved with them.
Yes, well, we're actually, long before the Connecticut incident, we were already at the county level examining when various incidents take place within the communities throughout the county, and the notification comes in from the local police that may be responding to an event near a school or something along that line, to perhaps place a nearby school in lockdown. We immediately realized that police officers during those particular events don't always think of in that high stress moment of every school that might be within perhaps a half-mile or a quarter-mile radius of all those. So we immediately at the County Communications Center, our 911 center, with the supervisor and administration involved, as well as some of the other key folks that develop policy there, started looking at trying to make it easier for law enforcement that when there is an event taking place in the area, that the 911 center, who has that information kind of pretty much right at their hands, who to notify at all the different schools throughout the county, to start reaching out and informing those other schools nearby. And there's a couple different avenues of which we can do that. One is by direct phone call, and we have a few other communication systems that we're trying to enhance to bring on board more of our non-public schools to have access to that, to allow them to get this timely information, to also place their school at that same level of safety that may have been identified for a nearby school that has direct contact with perhaps with the local police department maybe dealing with an incident at that level. So with regards to that, we are definitely looking at that, and we have already implemented that a couple times since we started, again, way before Connecticut. So we're seeing some success there, and we're now looking at actually starting to regionalize that approach in that when we look at a public school district, we're looking at all the schools within that same region, so that when we have an event take place at one school, we can not only get what we're requested to do from local law enforcement as far as some specific buildings, but take that to the next step and then inform local police that we've also taken that notification to the next level. So we are definitely working in that area already, and we already seen some success there. Was there a second part to your question, sir?
I think he was asking for some specifics about modern day, so maybe afterwards. I do want to encourage you, and we have about 10 more minutes. We had figured 6:45 to 8 o'clock, but if there's something you want to ask that's real specific, our panel members will be available afterwards. I'll be available. Likewise, we have members of the school board here available. We also have our assistant superintendent, our director of elementary ed, our director of secondary ed here. We have lots of principals here this evening. So if you have some real specific question you'd like to follow up on, we're here afterwards on that. So maybe you could follow up on the modern day question later. Chief, did you have something you want to add to this?
Just briefly on the partnerships with other schools that are not within the district. I know there's other contingency plans for those schools, and the departments work with those just as much as they do with the public schools in North Penn. For an example, in Upper Gwinnett is Corpus Christi School is right across from Gwinnett Square. In the event of an evacuation for a fire, one school goes to the other. That's already, that was in place actually the first day I started here in Upper Gwinnett. There was a small smoke condition in Gwinnett Square, and they went right to Corpus because it was already planned out. There also are ongoing plans for intruder situations and others between those two schools, even though they're not both in the same school district, and that one's with the Archdiocese. So there are partnerships there. We, a couple of years ago, were looking for a burglar in the area of Corpus Christi, and had a reason to have the school locked down to get the students inside and have them secured while we were doing that search. And at the same time we made that request, we also made the request for Gwinnett Square, and I could tell you that the county dispatchers there wasn't one dispatcher making one call and then making another. They made them at the same time, and both schools were locked down almost simultaneously. So there's fairly effective communication, as T-Peck said, but we can always look to improve it.
Okay, thank you.
Most of which I've said has been of an excellent order. I just wanted to throw in 2 bits worth by way of 8 years of experience in the protective alarms industry that I had from 81 to 89 with a company called Miley. During that time, I designed the alarm system for the home of Mayor Mike, the suitcase man in Lansdale. I designed 50% of the system for the Audubon Museum, the secondary 50% being designed by the installation supervisor. And I designed 50% of the system for the home of Mrs. Richard Gimble, the matriarch of the Philadelphia department store family. Again, the system being finished by the installation supervisor. Whatever steps you folks take, please do take into consideration the remarks of this gentleman and others about Lanza having been able to easily shoot his way through glass, and make those points really hardcore, polycarbonate, laminate, whatever you have to do, so that he can stand there and shoot his precious little brains out for as long as it takes to draw a police response. It can make all the difference in the world, and could have had it been the case at Sandy Hook.
Thank you. Yep.
Thank you. Chris, next question from viewers at home.
Dr. Dietrich, we've had a couple questions come in about the high school specifically, asking about open doors both during the day as students are passing from class to class and after hours. What does the staff at the high school do to ensure that an intruder doesn't follow a student in during the day?
Ray?
I don't know if there's much we can do about that. Like we have said a few times tonight, that if somebody wants to get into your school, they're going to find a way to get in. We have been working on trying to secure more of our doors. It is a public school, and kids go in and out, and tech school people come in and out. The kids go in and out the different doors here, but we are during the assessment again too. We will look at our door situation and try to see if we can lock down more doors, and that might even come into play with a swipe system if we ever get a swipe system here at the high school, and, having, maybe having people, like somebody else had said, maybe having staff man different doors during the day and things like that. So we're looking at that avenue too. That's at all the schools. We're trying to lock them down as much as we can, but yet you still have to run a public school, and people come in and out for events and things like that. So it's it's kind of a fine line, but we are that's one of the things we are looking at, is trying to do a one entry system at our schools where but something that's going to take a little time, but we are trying to monitor the doors a little closer now too.
Okay. We have about 5 minutes left. Next question.
What about the windows protection? I think in Sandy Hook, the intruder went through the window, so you can protect the doors, but the windows are still glass.
Again, that'll be in my assessment. We're trying to, like the one gentleman said, there are some doors that have no windows in them, and we're trying to come up with some kind of a system for a little mini window that's some kind of a polycarbonate glass or something like that. It's all things that we'll be looking at. I know the window issue is big too, by the way that that guy got in the Connecticut stool, but we will look at all those physical things too.
Okay, next question.
My name's Jeff Matlack, and I have 2 kids in the district right now and another entering soon. And Mr. Wilson, you had mentioned earlier about the grant for more radios and the grant for further communications. Well, we all know that radios only work when the person that's working it isn't incapacitated. What are there any resources being dedicated to silent alarms, not only within the school to notify the police, but to notify other teachers and to notify the rest of the school? My kids go to Montgomery Elementary. I know there's a second floor. There's not a snowball's chance that anyone on that second floor is going to know anything that's happening at the office. It's just not going to happen. Is there any plans to put in any type of communication within the school that would be a silent type of communication to allow everyone else in the school to know it's time to start moving?
Okay, any panel members want to take that without giving away too much in terms of what we do now regarding notification?
That's exactly what I wanted to say. I'm not trying to negate your comment, but we do have some plans in place, and there's some things that we do that we get our teachers and staff notified, and we're looking into a couple other ways to notify via different phone systems and different type of alarms and things like that. So we are looking into that also, and we do have and we have met and talked about different ways that we are going to be able to notify our staff in all of our schools.
Okay. Next question.
Hi. I first wanted to thank everybody for the work that you all do with the events up in Connecticut. Really serve to underscore its importance, so thank you very much. After what happened, it was a really very long weekend for me. Thought long and hard with my wife about what was happening. And that Monday morning, as someone earlier said, was very difficult, dropping my kids off. I have a daughter in kindergarten. I have a son in 4th grade. And really very difficult for me. And what I really started to think about was the fact that in terms of the protection and the welfare of my kids, it's really up to me individually. And I reminded myself of that fact, and that when I drop my kids off, it really is, I'm really bestowing upon you a trust. And I really liked what you had to say, Lieutenant Kratz, about your parents as well, and you're thinking about the same things as me. But I wanted to remind you of that fact, that it is a trust that we're bestowing upon you, and that I'm really happy to see that you're taking it seriously. The question I have is a very specific question. Mr. Wilson, I think you mentioned earlier that there were security resources available in the secondary level. I wanted to confirm that it was only at the secondary level. If it was at the secondary level, could you maybe talk through the rationale for it not being available at the elementary schools as well? If it was at all schools in the district, could you talk a little bit about sort of resource levels and sort of what, without giving too much away, I understand that perspective, what they would do and how they're sort of changing their roles and responsibilities.
I think the question was in regard, do we have security officers in just the secondary schools or in all buildings? I think that was part of the question.
Just right now, just in the secondary schools. Again, we are gonna look into some things. I actually visit 18 schools during the week at various times. A lot of times I take the security car and I park it out front, and I'm there a lot. Keep an eye on things, and but other than that, we have not had security at elementary schools, but we are going to look into that. I'm not sure if that's going to be a reality or not, but we do try to patrol. If we have had instances where an elementary school calls us and thinks they might have a problem with maybe a parent coming over, it's not happy about something, we will take one of our security officers from a secondary school and put them in the elementary school. So there have been times we have used them, and we will look into that also, about having some sort of a security presence at the elementary schools.
Okay, last question for the evening, and as I said earlier, we will be available afterwards. Last question.
Hi, so this is for you, Dr. Dietrich, and as well, Mr. Wilson. When we started this conversation about how some schools are arming themselves, a lot of the conversation has been about what you are looking at from an internal perspective, but what is the outreach that you're doing with other regional districts, the tri-state area? When you hear about Lower Merion arming themselves, when you hear about Northampton in New Jersey, what assessments are you doing as an overall region to assess what are appropriate steps that they're taking that you should probably be looking at and incorporating?
I'll take the first part of that question. What am I doing as superintendent? Naturally, tonight's outreach was an important part of what we're trying to do as a school district. I'm also in conversation with other superintendents across this county, and also, as you might expect, various seminars are cropping up now again due to the Sandy Hook incident, specifically for school administrators, for folks like me. So I'm making myself available and going to those kinds of training sessions. As Mr. Wilson had stated earlier, we're also putting into place the NIMS training for all of our administrators, because we think that's critically important, so that we have that available. I'm also looking forward to the additional steps that we're going to take beyond what we've done so far. And as we said earlier, Mr. Wilson is again going around all of the schools and again taking another look at what we have and what we might need. And we're going to process those things administratively, and then we're going to take those things to our Safe Schools Committee of the school board to seek their authorization for the things that we're recommending. We also do invite everyone to come to our Safe Schools Committee meeting. The next one will be the 31st of January, and it'll be at the ESC, the central office on Church and Hancock at 6 o'clock p.m. So we do invite you to be involved in all of that. It's important that we have full community engagement in that. It isn't just Ray Wilson or Curt Dietrich or school principals involved in this, or teachers or security individuals. It's everyone in the school district, all employees and all of our parents and community members, and that's critically important. And again, I just want to underscore the importance of mental health. That whole aspect of this is critical. So if you notice anything at all, or if you think we should be doing anything in regard to mental health that you'd like to make suggestions in that regard, please pass along those suggestions also. Because despite all of our best efforts, we know that the mental health issue is still a major, major issue confronting our country and our world. Ray, is there anything else you want to follow up on that?
No, I was just going to say that I attend a lot of, with Steve Beck has a lot of county meetings, and I go to conferences and talk to other school districts, and that's how I learn a lot of things. And you were saying about our other school districts, what are they doing and what are we doing? I learn a lot of things from those, and Steve has a great county meeting that he has a couple times a year, and we exchange information and things like that, and you learn what other districts are doing and what some of them aren't doing and what we're doing, and it's a big help. So we're always learning, and always want to try to do something, like I said, to keep our kids safe.
Okay, I was just checking with Christine regarding anyone who would like to send us anything electronically. If you do have additional questions, additional thoughts, additional feedback, you can email us at NPTV at nptv@npenn.org. nptv@npenn.org. Send us additional things you might have in regard to that. As I said earlier, we'll remain available to you. I do thank you very much. I hope this was worth your time to come tonight. Thank you.